Good morning and welcome back. We are in week 2 of our beginner beekeeping. So last week we did a bee installation with a nuke and a queen bee. So a few days after installing that nuke, I noticed that at the bottom of the baseboard there were some worms crawling around, and these ugly things are nasty. And I looked them up and it turns out they're hive beetle larvae. So I wanted nothing to do with these hive beetles. This larva crawls around at the bottom of your baseboards after hatching in the hive, and then does a little jump off of the baseboard and falls into the soil where it burrows down and develops into a beetle, and then crawls back up in your hive and eats, lays eggs, has a big party and with other beetles, and it's a nasty mess that you don't want in your hive. And I don't want any part of it. These things can travel 9 miles to another hive and have a party. So I wanted to kill what hive beetles I have, and what larva that's in the hive I want to kill. And so that's what this base is all about, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So the nuke that I had purchased must have been infected with hive beetle larvae or exposed to hive beetle larvae prior to me purchasing it. So if you're going to purchase a nuke, just be aware to kind of look for things when purchasing, just to make sure that you can avoid the same issue that I've had. So that's where this little baseboard came into play. So this is a nice vase from BeetleBusterUSA.com. So when I was researching how to keep these out of my hive, I knew there had to be something better to keep these hive beetles from crawling up in the hive and laying eggs. And so that's where I found this. So what happens is the larvae, they fall down to the bottom of this baseboard and they crawl to try and get out the front of the hive, and that's where they fall through one of these holes. Now, once they fall down through the hole, they land in what I'm going to line with Diatomaceous Earth. They fall into this tray of Diatomaceous Earth and they crawl around and get coated really well in that stuff and dry out and die, hopefully. So then you can empty that tray later on once it, after the season or however often you'd like to empty it. Now this box is built really well and designed really well. As you can see, it did come with this little entrance that I had to install, and I just made a slight modification to it once I installed it with just some foam to give it a little resistance to push against so that it can kind of stay real sturdy and doesn't get knocked over. Also kind of closes any tight areas, any possible gaps. So I just stuck a little piece of foam on each side and slid that against it and tightened this on down. And as you can see, it's pretty well sturdy. So my hive's gonna sit on top of this. My bees can fly in. I'll let the folks over at BeetleBusters.com, they have a video that describes the physics on how the beetle isn't able to enter this easily. They can still do it, but it's not easy for them to do that. It'll limit whatever is able to get in here based on the like I said, the physics of the hive beetle and the way its body is. So that'll hopefully keep them out. I did purchase another thing here. This is called a robbing screen. So it's mostly a mouse guard. And as you guys have seen, my hive's down on the riverbank. So there's all kinds of animals that live down on the riverbanks and crawl up and down the riverbanks. There's mice and things like that. Now I don't know how a mouse could get up through here, but they're pretty crafty. They're pretty crafty, so they can do quite a bit. So I don't have a mouse problem, but I don't want to ever have one either. So and it'll help to keep other things out. So I'm going to install this. It just goes right in front, and once I get the hive on, you install this up against it. So we'll do that. So I'm really excited about getting started with this Beetle Buster and seeing just how well it works. If you have any questions at all regarding anything, you can reach out to beetlebusterusa.com. A guy named Brian, he will answer any questions you have. In fact, I asked a question about my robin screen and he replied back with a video and answered the question. So I'm really looking forward to getting started with my Beetle Buster and seeing just how well it works. So we will come back when we're out at the hive. Okay, so hopefully I don't get stung, but I'm gonna do a swap of the Beetle Buster baseboard now, and then I'll take the lid off and we'll take a look inside and do a hive inspection. So, stand by. So we have the Beetle Buster bottom board installed. Bees are stirred up a little bit. We'll do a hive inspection real quick. Okay, so it looks like we're out of sugar water. I'll probably restock that one more time. Like we got a pretty good stock of bees here. All right, so good. They're starting to fill these outside cells up. Might be ready to put on our super on top here soon. So this is looking really good. You can see. I don't see any hive beetles so far, but things are filling up pretty quickly on this frame. So this frame looks good as well. Got some nectar over here. And cells they're filling with pollen. See any swarm cells? Must be happy. Got some pollen on the top. Looking good here as well. We'll pick that off. But overall, everything looks good. Might be drone eggs. So you can see on this frame, they're starting to build it up. You can see these cells here as they're starting to build their little cells for the hive, how on the foundation it looks. So, pretty cool. So far I haven't seen any hive beetles. All right, that's it for our week 2 hive inspection. We successfully installed our Beetle Buster bottom board, and looks like we can start preparing to put our super on. So one thing I'll do is they're out of their sugar water, so I'll make a new batch of sugar water, get that going so they can start feeding, and then we'll see where we are on week 3. Thanks.